Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my world of stocks and welcome back to my Stocks My Viewers Want Me to Review series where I pick a comment straight from you guys asking to review a particular stock and share my opinion on it, which as always, every episode gets added to our playlist and the link for that is down in the description in case you want to see past episodes. But also if you ever want to be featured in a future video, if you want your stock featured, all you got to do leave a detailed comment either here or on Patreon or Discord explaining why you want that specific stock covered, and I may choose it for a future video and do an analysis video on it. But as for today's video, we got a comment from one of our Discord members, Michael, who posted in the video suggestions section saying, "Ale, could you do a video on Intel? With everyone watching NVIDIA, do you think Intel is a sleeper stock to consider picking up? It looks very cheap to me and I can't believe how low it's gone over the years. Thanks for the fantastic videos." All right, well, you are very welcome, Michael, and thank you for being a supporter. I couldn't do this without you, so I appreciate that support. And actually, this one here, this comment covers actually a lot of my viewers' comments because a lot of people have been asking me similar things about Intel stock recently, especially, over the past year where NVIDIA stock has, of course, skyrocketed, even becoming the most valued company in the entire world, and yet a big rival in Intel has only continued to fall heavily. Now, I wouldn't say that these two are perfect comparison companies, but when it comes to processor chip developers, Intel and NVIDIA have always been kind of the two big dogs, especially for CPUs and GPUs respectively, with Intel, of course, being more dominant in CPUs and also APUs, which combines like a CPU and a GPU together, while NVIDIA really led the pack in high performance GPUs, with AMD also being kind of the, like smaller rival to both of those companies. And maybe one day we could do a video on AMD as well, because I think that would be quite interesting to analyze too. But let me know if you'd want to see that down in the comments. Anyway, in recent years, we've also seen some crossovers start to take place, with Intel now developing some high performance GPUs as well, while even NVIDIA has entered into the CPU market too. But again, both companies continue to dominate their respective fields. Anyway, regardless, I think that there is enough overlap here to where we can draw some comparisons, analyze the two companies and their performance, compare the stocks and their valuations, and ultimately determine if there's any value here worth picking up as an investment, of course, in Intel. But I'll also share my quick opinion or thoughts on NVIDIA too, since it is a little bit of a comparison. But let's just go ahead and run through some of this analysis here. Oh, and by the way, just for full disclosure, I do own a very large stake in NVIDIA stock. It's a top 3 holding of mine in my personal portfolio. And I also own a much smaller, kind of tiny piece of Intel as well. So I would love to see both companies do well over the long term. But let's go ahead and just dig in here and let's see what we find. Now, let's go ahead and start by comparing how the two stocks have performed so far. And like I said, NVIDIA has just been absolutely on fire, skyrocketing by close to 30,000% over the past decade. It's also up over 3,400% over the past 5 years. It's still up over 200% over the past 1 year. And then so far year to date, it's also up over 180% as well. So just an absolute tear in recent years in terms of performance. Now, Intel, on the other hand, has been a completely different story, as they've actually seen negative performance over the past decade, down over 35% in the past 5 years as well. They're also down over 12% in the past 1 year, and then also down over 36% so far year to date. So just horrible performance by comparison. Now, as a result of all this, we've now seen NVIDIA become the #1 largest company in the entire world by market cap at over $3 trillion, which is pretty insane to think about, as they're actually worth more than both Amazon and Meta put together. How crazy is that? Now, this might change by the time you watch this video, because really the top 3 have been kind of going back and forth a little lately, but at the time of this recording, for NVIDIA to be worth more than all of these giant behemoths like, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, and more, is just really mind-blowing to me, which Intel, by comparison, well, we don't find them until all the way down to the number 114 spot at $130 billion worth of market cap, which is still pretty large there. But I mean, you make some comparisons here. You could take like 25 Intels and put them together, and it would still not be worth as much as just one NVIDIA alone. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I remember back in the day, it was the complete opposite, with Intel being many times larger than NVIDIA. So what exactly happened here? Why did this happen? What did NVIDIA get so right that Intel got so wrong? Well, remember, these are not going to be perfect comparisons here, but in general, if I am just kind of trying to simplify the story for you, well, it really does have to do with NVIDIA pushing the boundaries and going all in on power and artificial intelligence, particularly focusing on graphic processing units, what we call GPUs, that are much more powerful or capable compared to CPUs when running things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, high performance computing. They're even very good at cloud computing and all kinds of things that also have to do with graphical performance, like video games or camera systems on autonomous driving platforms or even smart city platforms, the metaverse. All of those like really high growth markets that we expect to be worth many trillions of dollars in the future. Well, NVIDIA has really specialized in that area. However, Intel, on the other hand, the old king of processors, has, in my opinion, been much more complacent, just kind of holding on to their leadership in CPUs, what are central processing units, which don't get me wrong, those are still hugely important and are not going anywhere. They're kind of like the brains of your computer, but they're just not at the same level of GPUs when it comes to AI and other like high performance or machine learning kind of capabilities. And there's several reasons for that. For example, GPUs have thousands of cores compared to CPUs only having like, dozens, which these cores are used for tackling many calculations at once, which is crucial for AI when you're training massive neural networks that involve complex math across unimaginable amounts of data, really. But CPUs, on the other hand, while they are strong for sure, are geared more towards handling a single task at a time with high efficiency. GPUs also boast much faster memory access, or what we call bandwidth, which is crucial for AI since the algorithms need to process huge data sets and be able to move data back and forth between memory and cores. And while CPUs are generally designed to be more well-rounded for various computing needs, GPUs are instead kind of specialized for handling the type of repetitive calculations that you got to do a lot of them all at once, got to keep it going, same thing over and over, very repetitive calculations that really dominate AI, big AI data workloads. And so the result of all this is that the demand for AI and for NVIDIA's chips in particular to power that AI has really skyrocketed, while Intel has just kind of remained what they've always been, which is a still very solid chips company, but nowhere near the standout kind of rising star that NVIDIA has become. And so as a result, here's a chart showing the two companies' revenue growth over the years, and you can see just how dramatic of a difference it's been, with NVIDIA growing from less than 20 billion in 2020 to over 60 billion last year, while Intel has crashed from close to 80 billion to now even less than NVIDIA at 54 billion. And if you think that's crazy, I mean, just look at the next 2 years expected, where NVIDIA is projected to grow to nearly 3 times the size of Intel. But most important of all is how this growth has translated to a gigantic lead on the bottom line too, with NVIDIA's net income profit soaring from less than 5 billion in 2020 up to about 30 billion last year. That's around a 7 times increase, while Intel has instead fallen from over 20 billion in profit to just less than 2 billion last year. I mean, it's truly fascinating how these two companies have just kind of swapped in terms of performance. And the crazy thing is that it's not even slowing down. This year, NVIDIA's EPS is still expected to more than double, while Intel's is crawling to almost a flat pace. And yet, I actually think that Intel stock is still a buy right now. And I know I sound crazy, right? Well, let me explain here. If I was forced to rate Intel as a buy, a hold, or a sell, I would give it a buy rating. Now, that's not because I think that it'll become the next NVIDIA. My answer to that specific question is no, I don't think Intel will be able to catch up to NVIDIA's lead at this point for the things that they particularly excel at. But my argument would be that it doesn't have to reach that point. In order to still be a good stock worth investing in, it just needs to capitalize on a few different things. And I'm just going to give you three primary reasons why I feel that Intel stock is a buy at these levels. And number one is because the stock is just already so heavily beaten down at this point that I feel it leaves little downside risk, but plenty of upside potential. Again, I'm not saying that it'll ever soar like NVIDIA, but even if it can get back to anywhere close to like its former highs, I mean, that would still be substantial gains of probably over 100%. And at a PEG ratio of only 0.5, that looks dirt cheap to me for what is the former king of processors that still holds around 2/3 of the x86 CPU market share. Now, the question is, can Intel actually recover? Well, that's reason number two, because I think it actually can. Because first of all, much of Intel's damage was self-inflicted. See, unlike NVIDIA and AMD who outsource their chip manufacturing, Intel actually builds the chips themselves. And while there can be some advantages to that, the past few years were a bit of a disadvantage as they suffered from multiple delays, incompetence, a lack of innovation, and even supply constraints that rival Taiwan Semiconductor, I just feel handled much better, which ultimately benefited Intel's biggest rival in AMD and ultimately helped them steal a ton of market share from Intel. But again, I feel that these are issues that Intel can correct over time, which I also feel that because there is so much demand for high performance chips, I think Intel will get plenty of opportunities to win customers over again. And I don't see that demand ever going away in the future. Now, keep in mind, Intel themselves have now been building discrete GPUs with their next generation Battle Mage series expected to come in the next year. And while that's been a bumpy ride so far that I don't expect to ever get close to dethroning NVIDIA, I just think that they need to launch these alternative options for the growing market, since rising demand should help them gain traction over time. And then reason number three, speaking about how much demand there is in AI chips, well, keep in mind that America is extremely reliant on Taiwan Semiconductor, which is of course located in Taiwan, right next to China. And one of America's biggest fears is that China may try to take them over in the future, which regardless of whether or not that turns out to be true, there's still no doubt that America would love to shift some of their reliance on chips over to domestic suppliers like Intel. And because of that, we've seen huge subsidies take place to help Intel build and expand their factories here nationwide, which I also feel adds a bit to their longevity and overall demand, and even a bit of security too to, this area and the market that they're competing in. Anyway, in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is that when answering some of these questions, like, will any of these things that I want Intel to do as an investor, will any of them be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough road for them. They're in a bit of a transition phase. They got to try to recover here. And, if you ask me, can they be the next NVIDIA? No, I don't think they can be the next NVIDIA. Will they even get close to NVIDIA? No, I don't think so either. But is Intel a bit of a sleeper chip stock that is down a lot right now with substantial turnaround potential? Yeah, I think so. And look, it's risky for sure. You got to know what your risk tolerance is here. But for me personally, just me, I'm just sharing my opinion. I'm just letting you know what I think. You don't have to agree with me. It's just what I think. But I feel that, for me, buying in as small amounts here at these levels, just in case it does happen to accomplish the things I wanted to, and it does happen to recover and take off, well, I just think it's worth it. I think in the future, it should trade higher than where it is today. And I've got plenty of time myself to wait for that future. So it's really what I'm hoping for. But hey, I would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? What do you all think? And, do you own NVIDIA, Intel? Do you even own AMD? What are your thoughts on these companies and their stocks right now at current levels? Do you think NVIDIA's way too high? You think it's going to keep going? You think Intel is too low? You think it'll sink lower? I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, but let me know down in the comments section. Thanks again for stopping by, my friends, and thank you for all your support. It means so much to me, and I will catch you in the next video. Good luck with any decisions you make out there. I'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.